Hey everyone, it's Desiree and welcome. I hope you all are having a great day as always. So today I am here with Scrappy Tales and we've got lots of die cutting going on. Wait till you see it all. And what we're going to make is one of her pop-up books, but we're going to put a spin on it because you guys know me, I've always got to put a spin on it. It's always got to be different. But I've made these before and I've shown the pop-up book die before. That's this one here. This came out a while ago and we're definitely going to be using these for the inside. I'm going to be using, of course, the part that makes the book itself, and then the key and the lock from this set. And then Sabrina just came out with a wonderful book lovers type collection. So lots of books, lots of florals, lots of flourishes going on here. But the difference that I'm going to do is when we've seen the pop-up, it's got the, I'm going to call them the accordions on one side. So it opens up. We're going to create a book. I was playing around with it, figured it out, that we're going to have two accordions on each side. And we are going to have a mechanism that closes it. Basically, it's going to be a ribbon that comes across, but it's going to have that mechanism. So there's going to be a very 3D piece on the front, a piece going down the spine, and then also one on the back. We're even going to pull in some metal findings on the back. So I hope you'll hang out for this. I hope you'll stay through this. But again, it is lots of die cutting. This is part of the front. So I'm going to be using that frame piece. I'm going to be using a couple pieces from her Life as a Story pattern paper. I'm going to be using the green and this beautiful brown script and this teal-ish, because these are very vintagey colors, which, yay, love vintagey colors. We're going to be using the stacked books with flowers. We're going to be using the stacked books. And these pieces are going to be somewhat monochrome. It's the florals that are going to have all of the colors that come shining through. We're going to be making this large couch. Absolutely love this couch. That's going to be in a navy blue. And of course, a little corgi is going to sit on it. We're going to use this emblem here on the back, wishing you a year of happy endings. I'm pulling in a flower die. This is the Trellis Vine from the previous collection. I think this came out in her Easter collection. These florals here are going to be throughout. This is the Mother's Day blooms. Love the way that these look. And then I'm going to be using this pop-up. This is a gorgeous pop-up, but I'm only going to be using this column here. This is what's going to sit on our spine. Again, monochrome. It's the florals that are going to pop off with the color. And I don't think that I have to do any other die cutting. Oh my goodness, I hope not. But those are all the pieces that I'm using. I will link down to this collection below. But these are all the die cuts. This is for the album. This is the cover. This is the back cover. This is the spine. Here's the stacked books. I'll put this up there. This is the book with flowers. Here's the couch. Here's the trellis. And here are all the flowers. So we've got lots of die cutting. And it is a lot of die cutting. But all of this time that it takes to die cut. One, it goes through your scraps. It's awesome. I actually used nothing but scraps except for the album because those pieces are a little bit bigger, but I was able to find some scraps from that as well. And it's just gorgeous as you layer all of these pieces up and together. So when we open our book, it's going to have scenes on both sides, and then it will close. So fingers crossed that this does work. What I am going to do, I am going to switch over to a voiceover, and we'll just gab and chit chat through this. I don't believe I'll play any music. So very, very chit-chatty when it comes to all of this. And we will just see how this goes. Let's get started. Let the construction begin. Yes, this is a long video. I'm literally showing all steps. I am speeding it up. But here we go. We're going to start with the cover. Now, this is the pop-up book die set. And I'm just going to put it together a little differently. First, we're going to have two pop-ups on the inside. To do that, instead of just cutting two, one for the top, one for the bottom, and then two, one for the left, one for the right accordions, you're going to do 4 of each. Very simple. Now, I do find when it comes to these panels to fold them all the same way. Just get that crease going. And then come back and do the fold, flip, fold, flip, fold, flip. So here are the two panels, the cover and the back, or the front and the back. I am only going to attach the covers together on the edge, on the 1/2 inch mark. I'm not going to take it all the way in to the second one. So you would have two that you would be overlapping when putting this book together. I'm just going to overlap on one on the edge. So now I've got these 3 panels of 1/2 inch. I hope that makes sense. I'm going to come in with a strip of the pattern paper. So we're going to make this our spine. Now I want this spine to stay flat. I don't want it to have a curve. You could certainly put a curve in it if you wanted to. I just didn't know if that slight curve would be able to encompass the 2 accordions that we're going to put on the inside. Okay. I've already cut my panels for the outside, which is the tan cardstock from her set, Life as a Story. And I've cut them to be just slightly smaller. So let me grab the book and let me give you those measurements. Now remember, this cover here is a 5x7. It's an A7 cover, or it fits an A7 card. So it measures 4.5 by 6 3/4. So let me measure that again. Yes, 4.5, 6 3/4. And that's what I cut these back cardstock panels. I'm going to ink around the edges because whenever I create any type of album, the vintage photo must make a presence. And I was kind of a little upset that I totally forgot to ink the spine. But that's okay. Because of the weight that's going to be inside of the pop-up book, I am going to use double-sided tape along with a liquid adhesive. Now, I'm sure the liquid adhesive would be fine, but just adding that double-sided tape is a mental thing for me. It just tells me that it's going to be okay. Just say. You know, we all do strange things as we craft. That's just one of mine. So now that I've got the one panel, we're going to layer it with a second panel. This is just going to give it a little bit more of dimension. I'm going to come in with that vintage photo, and I'm going to come in heavy-handed. So I'm really going to hit the edges and then actually go over the top and the inside of this frame. I am not worried about what's happening to the pattern paper on the inside. That wouldn't mind me either, anyway, whether I was doing this or not. Again, to me, adding that vintage photo is a dream. It's not for everybody though, so you don't have to do that if you wanted to make this project. For the inside cutout, I cut 2 from scrap pieces of the heavyweight craft and 1 from the color that I was using, which is a warm gray. I'm using the sentiment, hope your birthday is one for the books. Again, using the heavyweight craft cardstock for the backing, and then I'm going to come in with a mirror cardstock for the top. And I believe this is platinum that I am using for that. So that's going to add even more dimension. Now, there is something that's going to come up here that is going to make you all cringe, I'm sure. But you know me. I'm that rebel. But it's fun. And you can do this. It's okay. We can fix anything. These are happy accidents when they happen. Again, coming in with that vintage photo around the gray, because again, it's going to tie all the pieces together. I do put vintage photo on any color, whether it's teal, pink, yellow, orange, any color in the rainbow, vintage photo can take it. And again, what it's doing is it's just putting that aged look onto something. When we leave papers out, or if we have papers that are just old, they age on themselves. And they don't stop because it's a children's book, or if it's a dictionary, or if it's a picture book. They still age. Again, the look is not for everybody. And to like that, you're definitely into the vintage. So there is our book. So we have our cover done. Here we go. The fingers tapping. I know what happened. So here we go. We are just going to town. Yep. We've got to rip this center panel out. Because I forgot to do something. Now, we're all good. That's just like, oh my goodness, we have all of that. We're going to come in with some vintage photo, cover up that edge, flatten out these pieces, and we are still good to go. It's all fine. And what we forgot is I need to have the ribbon closure. There are many closures that can be created when it comes to any type of album you are creating. I do like using ribbon or twine. And the reason being is because when you have a journal, it's going to grow. It's going to get larger. So the ribbon allows for that expansion, for that alligator mouth to happen as you continue to fill this. Once we got that panel off, I grabbed my brown ribbon, tacked it down in there, and then added glue to the top. Now we're going to make sure that this is going straight across, because now we need to work on the spine. And we're going to use one of the columns from her other pop-up that was just released. And of course, that pop-up just went out of my head's name. It was sitting in there. Okay, we found it. So it's the library window scene pop-up. I'm using one of the columns. One of the things that I'm also doing with these pieces, like in this case, the column, and also another die that I'm going to use, is I'm being very monochromatic with the colors. I'm not adding too many bright colors. I'm not going to be using all of these die cuts that come with the pieces, because florals are going to come into this, and that's where the color is going to sit. That's where it's going to pop out of this. Once we've got the gray on top of the craft, we go around with that vintage photo. We're going to make sure the ribbon is going across, so I'm using my mat for that. Putting a small piece of double-sided tape down just to hold that in place. Here comes more double-sided tape, and we're going to use liquid adhesive, and this is going to be our spine decoration. To add a little bit of color to the spine, I'm only going to be using some black, the craft cardstock, and the mirror cardstock, the platinum mirror. That's all we're going to add to that spine. So we're going to get back to that because I'm working on the back now. Now, part of the pieces of the original pop-up book is this beautiful detailed lock and key. And we're going to use that for the back. We're going to get the ribbon secured. Now, this ribbon is only going to be secured past the lock. And that's fine for me. I'm okay with that. You could have put your ribbon underneath the cardstock that we put on the cover, and that would have been fine as well. I do like to see the band of the ribbon coming across, and again, it depends upon the image. You can see the journal that I've been working on throughout May. Sabrina's gift, by the way. The bookish journal. You'll see that the ribbon goes underneath the focal point, underneath the spine, but it doesn't go underneath the couch in the back. It stays to the front of that and is very loose. It's just something that I do. Now, there's many ways that you can do a closure. I try not to use any closure but a ribbon closure. Again, it allows for expansion. It allows for somebody to really stuff their journal or their scrapbook album. When we use metal findings or chains or anything like that, that's confining, it's constricting. And if you keep adding, it could pop itself open. We have created 5 layers using heavyweight craft for the lock. For the bottom layer, I did not let the die cut all the way through, and I added a lot of ink to the top of it so that when this piece sits on top and is glued on top, you're going to see the darkness of all of the details. I've added a chain to the lock coming off the bottom. Now, I do change this. I take off that big hook at the end and just use I just let the, what do you call it? Jump ring go into the key. We're going to do the same thing with the key. The only difference is the top layer is going to be the mirror cardstock. And again, that's in platinum or champagne. Champagne and platinum are interchangeable when it comes to the colors. I'm removing this. I just thought it was a little too bulky. I didn't want to, but it looks nice. I mean, you can definitely do it. Now I'm just playing, how do I want this to sit? I can tuck it into the ribbon because it's very secured in that ribbon. And you'll see in the pictures or in the final when we do the flip through, it does. It holds the key very nicely, even coming up from the bottom. And that's how I have it sitting. Here I'm coming in with the craft pieces for the column and adding lots of vintage photo. Really going heavy-handed with this to give it a different shade of brown, to give it that different look. And again, because they're all in craft, it's just adding to the vintage look. For the top of the clock and the light and the plant in the cup, that's going to be done in the mirror cardstock as well. I did add a black piece to the base of the clock. Again, just to make that look a little different. Playing around with that other sentiment eventually goes into the inside of our journal. And that's just saying, wishing you a year of happy endings. So this piece is for a birthday, of course. Hope your birthday's one for the books. But it also then turns into this piece that can be kept, a piece that can be added to. Little tiny notes can be added on the inside. All right, so now we're doing the flip and fold, flip and fold, flip and fold. So now you want to make sure that you're creating the mountains and the valleys, mountains and the valleys. And you're going to do that 8 times. Because we need one for the top, one for the bottom. And they were cut. So the ones for the top and the bottom were cut to 4.5 inches. Kept the width, but they were cut down from the long side to 4.5. The sides, the left and right side, were cut to 6 3/4. So it's the same measurement as the plate that we put on our front cover. So if that helps. And you really want to burnish these down. Now, I did use a heavyweight cardstock. I'm using a 110-pound cardstock. It's the Craft Recollections. It is my favorite. If I could do everything in craft, I'd be a happy camper. I don't think it's 110. I think it's heavier than 110. I always say that. And you all are probably sick of me here saying that too. It's just a phenomenal weight. You've really got to work the folds. You've really got to pull in that bone folder. You really got to make it work. So this just takes patience. And it takes time. Now, I'm not using any double-sided tape here. I was amazed as well when I started. I'm just saying. I'm like, okay, I'm not putting any double-sided tape. The double-sided tape helps to give an immediate hold. When you're using glue, you've just got to hold it for a few seconds just to make sure that it does hold. To put these together, you just want to interlock the folds. The one tab, you're going to make sure that it glues down and make sure you're grabbing the right piece. Yeah, I was putting another short one on the right-hand side or the left-hand side, whichever way you want to look at it. So you always want to make sure that you got them in there. When it comes to this last connection, it's simple because, again, this is paper. It will bend. It won't break. And it feels like you're putting a lot of tension. You've just got to make sure that your glue is dry so that they don't come apart. And here is our one accordion completed. I am going to use the pattern paper for the backing, and I want to make sure I put that on first. For me, excuse me, for me, it's easier to put the accordions onto any type of pattern paper that you're putting behind them. Because now then you're just setting the frame down and you're only having to play yoga with your neck once to make sure that you're centered onto the front and the back panel. Here, of course, for some reason, I am using the double-sided tape, and I'm going to set that down into the corner. This does not need to be perfectly lined up on the edge, and I'm going to come in with my long shears, and I'm cutting at an angle. Notice how I'm holding the piece at an angle, and the scissors are being held at an angle. I don't want to go straight down, because by cutting at an angle, I'm removing that edge from the pattern paper, so then it's hidden in behind, and I don't have to do any trimming. Now it's time to construct the second accordion. The flaps, you have one on the top and you have one at the bottom. So once you get the one, and it's great, you know when they lock because it just stops. As you're wiggling these two accordions together, they just interchangeably lock. They're already set at a 90 degree when you wiggle them all in. The glue that I'm using, I get asked this a lot. This is a PVA glue. I buy it in bulk. I love art glitter glue. That's the one that I absolutely love. I also love my Tombow Mono glue. Those are my two favorites for general application. But there's an expense. So I do like this PVA liquid glue. As I said, I can buy 16-ounce bottles for what I would pay for a 8-ounce bottle. And I like it. It's also flexible once it dries. It's made for bookbinding. And when you're binding a book, you need your glue to also have some flexibility. It can't be very rigid when it comes to its application. So here, doing the same thing, getting that frame down onto the pattern paper, holding it at an angle, holding the scissors and cutting at an angle as well. And then we don't have to worry about the edges. Here are our two frames. We're going to pull the cover back in. Now, what I should have done, and it's not a problem, I should have kept the frames out and decorated the frames while they were outside of the book, because this can now get very cumbersome. You know, you're taking this book here, you're having to turn it, flip it. We've already done the cover, you know, because I wanted to do the cover before all of this so that it wasn't bouncy. I had the flatness of the cardstock and applying all of the items that I was applying. So to make it easier for yourself, keep these frames, these accordion frames, outside first and decorate them. And then you'll be able to set them in your book easier without, you know, constantly having to swing this book around now because they're in there. So that's what you'll see me do. I'm fighting with the ribbons, you know, the ribbons getting in my way and all of that fun stuff. I am using here also the double-sided tape along with the liquid adhesive. Again, it's paper. And when you add paper together, it can provide weight. You would think, oh, these are small. See, there I am. I'm flipping around with that ribbon. And even though these are small images, there's still some weight that's going into this, and that's going to add up. You can see that when we close this, we have perfect room to do whatever it is we want. We could even score down that center panel, because remember, there's 3 half-inch panels in between there. If you wanted to, you could score on them, score down the center one, and create that fold to create a curve. It's completely your choice. I'm taking the same spine pattern paper that I used outside for the inside. And now we're just ready. Here comes the die cutting extravaganza that is unbelievable. So we're going to start with the couch. The couch is going to sit on the left-hand side. So I've trimmed off a section of it so that this can be tucked in and along the side just a little bit. And then we are double layering this. 9 out of 10, I always double layer a die cut to give it more strength. So I have to say the month of May for me was die cut galore. I don't think I've ever die cut so much in a period of time. Now, don't get me wrong, I love die cutting. I absolutely love it. And I will be honest. So I have this project here that I did. And then I also am working on the scrapbook / journal album. That's the gift for Sabrina. And that is featuring this new launch, Life as a Story launch. So all of those die cuts in there. So I literally die cut all of these pieces at once. Yep. At once. I knew my color scheme. I pulled out all the cardstock, just made the piles. Say, okay, this is for the journal. Okay, this is for the pop-up book. And just did all of that. Just piled it up. And I knew what was going with what. And then I just started die cutting. And I would do it at night. I literally die cut. If I totaled it up, I think it was close to 20 hours. Yeah. 3 hours a night during the week. Close to it. And then a little bit Saturday morning. By the end of Saturday morning, there's a phenomenal wine I need to all tell you about. It was amazing. It was amazing. The only way that I kept track of the dyes, because we know her dyes. I mean, she goes down to the finest detail, and I didn't lose any of them. That was surprising. Through either project, I didn't lose a one. Are plastic containers. So I have these plastic organizers that I purchased. And I just, this was this, this was this. And then I have my project baskets that I kept them in. So, yeah, I am die cut out. Die cutting for me is relaxing, believe it or not. Because to me, it's like a puzzle. You're putting together a puzzle, and it doesn't matter if you use the same exact images, the same exact colors. Every time you put it together, it will look a little different. And again, that's what I love about this craft. It's no two will ever be alike. None. And we struggle with that. And I should say I struggled with that, because in the beginning, I was that person that said, why does mine not look like theirs? I don't understand this. I have the same exact materials that they are using. Same stamps, same dyes, same paper, same inks or watercolors, all of that. I have it, and mine does not look like that. And it took me a while to understand that and to accept it. It takes some time. But once I finally did accept it and embraced that fact, that's when things started taking off for me. I started truly enjoying creating the art that was coming out, coming up with ideas, trying new things, stretching the boundaries of paper and its fibers. And you will too. Yes, you will do that. But it took a while. It took a while. We got our couch all together. We got our little corgi sitting on there. I decided that's where the next sentiment is going to sit, on the inside. I have here the stack of books. This is a great die. Again, very detailed. And I'm keeping this monochrome as well. Now, the couch isn't so much monochrome, but rather there's not much to it. So there's, 3 pillows, the dog, and I pulled in the champagne platinum mirror cardstock, but it's still dark. It still has that dark sense to it, even though I chose a navy blue. So we've got that color there, but the books are going to be set further back onto the left-hand panel. So again, going with a very monochromatic, pulling in the black, pulling in the gray that we used from the front, and that's on that sentiment. We'll just keep this together. When we pull in way too many colors, it's just like when we use color pencils or our alcohol markers or our paints. Yes, you could use every color that you want, but you also want to try to limit yourself with those colors. When we pull in every color of the rainbow, sometimes what we're creating gets lost. We don't see the images. We just see the beautiful colors when it comes to what we're creating. So when I do die cutting, especially like this, when it's this detailed, I limit myself to the number of colors that I will pull for a project. It's the same when I put a journal together, when I do my simplicity videos, it's the same thing. I have the pattern paper pad, but then I'll only pull in no more than 4 colors. I like to stay with 3, but I'll go to 4 colors, and then there's 1 neutral, whether that's craft, black, or gray, or maybe ivory. Because when we get so many colors and we try to match everything, we'll get lost. That's my opinion. That's absolutely my opinion. And I've seen that through works, honestly, that I've done, where I've put so many layers and so many colors that it just can kind of get lost, where you're not seeing what the images are and what you should be able to see. To accent some of these areas on the books, I am just adding a little sparkle. With a pen. Now again, I'm playing with location, where everything's going to go. I'm looking at this going, oh my goodness, that's way too much. Yep, way too much going on in there. But it could be done. I mean, it could absolutely be done. And the reason why I was looking at this is because I also die cut this piece. Now, this piece has a little more color to it, but not much. But we're still going to put this together because, again, this is the process. For something like this, I don't plan it out. I don't plan out, okay, this is going to go here, this is going to go here. The only thing that I planned out on this project here, and actually did a prototype, was the pop-up cover and the 2 accordion frames inside. And even still, I just did 3 sides of each of the frames, the top and the bottom and the one in the centers, because I wanted to see if this closed, what that looked like. What was that going to do? Did I have a gap? Did these catch on each other? Do I have room once it's closed? All of that stuff. I didn't know if this was going to work. And to a wonderful surprise, it did. For those of you that have been here for a while, you know me. I must have real estate. The more real estate I have to add stuff, the happier I am. When I do a slim line, it's a 4x9. It's not a mini slim line. It's not a medium slim line. It's the large slim line. 4x9. That gives me the most real estate when it comes to the project that I'm doing. When it comes to a card, I am appreciative of the A2 standard size card base, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. It's what I started out doing. I love a 5x7, a 6x6, and I absolutely appreciate a 7x7. I just love that size of a card. Because again, it's more real estate. You can add more things to it, or have that, believe it or not, when you create a background, you get to see it. You get to enjoy it when it comes to that. So thinking now that I've got 2 sides, oh, I can put all of these pieces in. But again, we do learn and we grow to say, okay, no, that's not going to work. No, we need to pull this back. But it doesn't help or doesn't hurt to not try. I love the way that looks. Now, if we just stopped there, that'd be fine. But you guys know I'm not going to stop there. This die here is absolutely gorgeous, but boy, is it dainty. Yeah, she had fun with that one. And when I say dainty, that vine is absolutely amazing. This is called the trellis vine die. Very dainty. So definitely doubled that up. And now I'm just playing with, okay, how can we get this to sit on our frame? Because that's what I want to embellish this with. So now we're going to cut them up. We're going to cut up this die to get different pieces so that we can get the different looks. And it's just from one die. I am more comfortable cutting a die up to get a different shape than a stamp. Did you ever see the commercials, with lobster, when they put it in the pot, somebody goes, no, don't do that. Yeah, I hear that with stamps. I don't know. I'll do it for sentiments. I get it. But I also know I'll never get that sentiment lined up again. Yeah, I've just come to deal with that. But I've seen people cut up their images for stamps, and you know what? I can appreciate that. Absolutely. It's art. Let's have fun with it. I can't. But my dies, after I die cut them, yeah, I can do that. I can do that all day long. Absolutely. Because then that means you're stretching the die. You're stretching its use. You're giving it a different life. You can use it a different way. It can either be the focal point or it can be the filler. However you would want that to be. And that's when I think dies are wonderful. You know, again, when it comes to real estate, I like the big images and what can I do on the background. You all know, or maybe you don't know, my stamp line. There's lots of big images in there because I think that they are more universal than a small image. You know, small image is just that. It's a small image. But a large one, you can stamp it, you can cut it up, you can stamp it off to the side, you can stamp it on the top and the bottom, you can just stamp a portion of it. There's so much we can do with a larger image. So that's why I kind of create my images that way when it comes to my stamps. So you can see I've got all these little pieces now. I'm pulling out everything and saying, okay, we're going to go this way and we're going to start putting together our pieces. So the book's now going to move to the left side. We still have the large vine that's going to be across the left. And we have these smaller clusters that are going to sit on the right. You can see I started large, meaning there was a lot going on there. And now I'm pulling back. I'm like, okay, that's just way too much. I don't want to cover up all the work that we've done in here. I don't want to take away from the shadows that are going into the accordion. So now we have what we're looking for. I'm going to save that other piece for another card. And now we have the tops of all the flowers. So I chose ivory for this. Again, staying neutral, not adding more pops of color. When it comes to the, and I forget, I'm trying to find the name of it here. Here it is. It's called the Mom/Mother's Day Blooms. That's where the color is really going to come in. That's where the pinks and the magentas and the teals and the corals are really going to come in when it comes to this card, this pop-up card. Any extra die cuts that I have, they do get saved. I do not throw them away. They go into a container that houses all of my extra die cuts. Because what I'll do is I will use those die cuts to create thank you cards when it comes to my business. So, and they are for the Etsy side. So I have an Etsy and a website. The Etsy houses all the cards, or the majority of the cards that I make that you see here. And they have to have a certain parameter before they go into my Etsy shop. So it's usually that is when I will make a thank you card for them when it comes to a free gift, because I'll use a Post-it note on the inside to write them a note and to say thank you. And I apologize for anybody that's got an order. I am so sorry for my handwriting. My handwriting is horrible and I can't change it. And I don't want to type a message. That's stupid. Anyway, so you can see all these beautiful, this pop of ivory. It brightens up the inside of the pop-up. But before we get those attached, and if you notice, now I've pulled the card, the pop-up card down just a little bit. And I'm sorry if I get out of frame. But now we're adhering the big pieces, the couch, the plaque, the bookcase, or the stack of books, and making sure that it's sitting in that accordion the way that it should. And then pushing down on the accordion so that the glue can adhere. When I took the vines off, I made sure they were in the same position of which they would be on the frame, because I would have forgotten that. And that's something to do too. When you're working with something and you've got to move something, just when you remove it, keep it in the same, create the same shape or design off to the side, above, or however you want to, or wherever you want to put that. I'm making sure that the entire back has glue, because I don't know what's going to touch, what's not touching at this point. For this large one, I do it in steps. And then I will pick up and lift up the side pieces and get them placed down, because I'm still able to move this. I could have put glue on the entire back, but I know this would have shifted and I would have gotten glue everywhere. It does dry clear, but you can still see it. Just a little bit. And I didn't want that to happen. So now those are those flowers. Now I'm looking to say, okay, is this going to catch as it closes? And just to make sure, I am trimming the inside line, like we do along the side of our cards. Just trimming that. And it's going to close perfectly. Nothing is going to get caught. Now, you can see that I totally forgot to hit record. Well, which in reality, let's face it, is probably a good thing. I think you're all done looking at die cuts being put together. The chatty might be good, but oh my goodness. So lots of these Mother's Day blooms. We're just now setting them in. We're setting them in on different levels within the accordion. We're adding the greens. What I love about these greens, though, you can cut them, get different shapes. The greens come in a set of 4. Why not have 4 singles? And that's what we do. You want to have your larger pieces set in the accordion first, so that in this case for the flowers, you want them to go around the large items. You don't want them to cover any of those items. Like I didn't want the flowers to cover the sentiment on the inside. I wanted it to be surrounded by these blooms, but have that look of 3D when it comes to this. Some of the leaves I've got 2, some of the leaves I've got 1. And again, just filling that in. Now, there's something I don't think I show. I do add gold pearl, satin gold pearl beads on top of the ivory flowers. So here, now we're going to decorate the cover. So now we're back to the cover. And we're going to add the same style of flowers, same style of blooms. We're going to have 1 in the upper left, in the upper right, and I'm going to have 2 down in the bottom left. I do like to, whenever it comes to any album, well, mainly a scrapbook album, which is, when I say scrapbook album, I mean hardcover. To me, that's a scrapbook album. I know you can do journals with a hardbound cover. I get it. I do not. It's very rare that I do that. I like to add florals on the outside of it. I do like to have the diagonal around the centerpiece. I do that too with journals when I accent the cover. Everything, it goes onto a diagonal away from the main image. And that's what I'm doing here. So I'm just adding the greens, the leaves, I'm snipping them so that I can fill them in along the piece. I'm using both the darker leaves that I created along with the lighter leaves. And then just creating this bouquet to go around. I thought about adding some greens along the spine, changed my mind on that, Thought about adding some greens coming off of the lock. Changed my mind. So I decided to go in the bottom left-hand corner here with some of the small vines and pulling back in those ivory flowers that we put all over the frame itself. And again, I did add some gold pearls to the back of those as well. Well, that was an extremely long video, I'm sure, even though I sped it up. Lots of die cutting that was done. Wanted to show you all the bits and then some. I even took some of it out, and some of it, you know, my camera felt the need to not film. So, yeah. But I'm really happy with it. Why would we make a project like this? Well, it's not for the faint at heart, but it's a way to show that you can mix and match. You can stretch your stash into something more. And again, and just expand upon it. And again, I know that this is not for everybody. This is a lot of work that goes into it. I personally believe that this is worth it. I'm definitely a die cutter. I love layers. I love textures and just building that up. Most of you know that have been here for a while, I love real estate. So being able to put 2 of these platforms inside just gave me more real estate. When I create something like this, you saw that some of the pieces that I put together didn't make it in this because I didn't have enough real estate, or, you know, didn't have that room. Trust me, those pieces do not go to waste. I have a container where I just put all of my extra die cuts. I put them in there and I pull them out just to have fun with, or just to create, you know, a card or something, or I accent another piece. So please don't think that they end up in the trash. They don't. I keep them. They're all sitting here. Even these pieces here, you know, I'll save those. I'll actually sometimes put these types of pieces in with that die set so that they're there. Even this one that I cut that I'm not going to use, I'll save this one as well. So please don't think, and don't anybody say that's wasteful just because I was pushing them off to the side. Nope. They are saved. All right, let's walk through the project. So here is our front. Hope your birthday is one for the books. We added the flowers to the outside, this beautiful frame, and we used the pattern paper from her collection to the background. When it comes to the spine, we used one of the columns from the pop-up, and again, background from her pattern paper. And didn't add, you know, the flowers are adding the color. Everything else is in a vintage monochromatic tone, but you can still see that silhouette that's coming through, and this is a good case of that. So the base is that gray, the background is the craft, and then even these are craft, but we added the vintage photo to get those details pulled out, and then just added some of the mirror cardstock to accent it. Pulls in the mirror cardstock to the back. I just took that key, tucked it up into the ribbon closure. This is securing that ribbon closure, so this is nice and tight. You can tell that's not moving. And then I added a few flowers to the back. Now I will be adding gems to these, or pearls, when it comes to these flowers, especially on the outside. The inside, I don't know. I believe I will. When it comes to the ribbon closure, I'm sure all of you were gasping as I took this piece back off after I glued it, because I forgot to get that ribbon up underneath that. That is what's holding this ribbon. So it's under this piece, it's under this piece, and it's also under the lock. But it is secured with double-sided tape, and it's nice and tight. We just simply untie this, and then when we open this up, nothing's getting caught, and we have two beautiful pieces, landscape here to fill. And you can see the flowers are just pulling all of that color in. And we have these layers because of the accordion. Of course, we have to have corgi. Yes. And even for the other ones, this here is all of the craft, the black and the gray. So that's to the backgrounds. And here, again, we've got pops of color here from the corgi, but the couch itself was pushed back using a darker color. Now, the only thing I probably would change is, instead of having the green in the back here from the pattern paper, I would have put the blue back there and probably the green in the center. But I do like how that green looks, and we have the green leaves coming into it. We accented the frame, the accordion frame, with this beautiful trellis from her previous collection. And even if I do add gems to these, they're not going to get caught. So nothing is getting caught with this when I open and close. Even this piece here, I was concerned that it might have gotten caught when it came to these flowers. But the way that I positioned them, we are fine with that. So yeah, gems, pearls, I will be okay with that. If anything, it'll close like this, and we still have plenty of room to close this up. I am very pleased with it. And then we added the sentiment here. I was going to put this to the back, but I really like that being embedded inside. Wishing you a year of happy endings. So what a beautiful treasure piece for someone's birthday. They can tuck little tiny notes if they want to in here, and in back here of the couch, what they did that day, what they got, how they were spoiled, because everybody should be spoiled, and just a lot of fun with that. I do hope, though, that you did enjoy this, just to show you that this is what, you know, your die cutting collections can do. You can do this with stamp sets as well and cut them out. Anything that you have in your stash, have fun with it. You know, create something new, something different that can become not only that piece to give and celebrate a special day, but can become that keepsake. Whether it is a one-layer card, whether it is something that's 3D like this, it is a treasure. It is a piece of art. So let them showcase it, let them look at it all the time, and let them have fun with it as much as you did putting it together. I will have this collection linked down below if you're interested to see all of what's in it. I've really been showcasing it this month, and what a way to end it. This is not, Sabrina, if you're watching, this is not your book journal. We will be continuing with that and getting all those pieces. I will not make you all sit through all that die cutting again. Nope. I'm going to have those pieces together. For the most part. There might be some that I'll show. Enjoy the art that you create, guys. Have fun with it. Just enjoy the process. No matter what you create, whether it's that card, whether it's a pop-up card, whether it's a journal, no matter what it is, just enjoy that process. Don't have any stress. And if there is, just walk away and look at it with new eyes the next day and keep going. Don't start over. Keep going with it. You never know what art you're going to end up with. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that thumbs up, ring the bell. That is the best way that you can support this channel, and it is truly and greatly appreciated. I love the fact that you guys spend just a little bit of time here and take that time to spend with me. But remember what's most important for me. Always, ever since I started, be creative every day in everything that you do. And I will talk with you all on the next video. Till then, take care.